All right. Hey, good morning. It is still morning. It's a little after 11 a.m. We're going to get to the weekly pick'ems. So every week now on Saturdays, right around 11 o'clock a.m., 10:30 a.m., we're going to roll out the pick'ems that we chose from last week, Friday, yesterday, during the Rise and Grind morning show. We're gonna cement it in its own show so everyone knows what the picks are for the week. And we're tracking. So we're tracking against Jeremy Fowler. That's who I chose this year to kind of pick against. And we'll see where we end up. But right now I'm trying to fix lighting because half my lighting is blue and half of it is white, and I don't know what's going on. Lost internet yesterday, and of course everything is controlled by internet and apps, and it's a mess. Gotta love it. Give me 2 seconds here. I think we're okay. Think we're good. So good morning. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday. We got noon kickoff here for some college football, and should be an exciting day for some college football. I haven't watched a whole lot. Quite honestly, I haven't had a ton of time. So let's get it rolling. This takes a minute, so we'll get started here and we'll talk about it. Let me bring in a couple of things first. Let's start there. So here is the sheet that I track against. As soon as I can figure out where I put the sheet, it would help. All right. So as you can see, Matt Bowen's in first place. He has 31 correct picks. And then Jeremy Fowler is down here, right here with 28. Now, they neglected to put me on the list for some reason this year. I'm not sure why. Maybe next season. I'm just kidding. I've never been on the list. But I'm right here. I'm with DraftKings and Jason Reed and Dan Graziano and Stephanie Abell. I'm at 27, so I've got 27 picks right, which if you go by the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm tied for 11th with correct pick'ems, and I'm picking at about 78% right now, about 78% right, and that is with a very, very, very bad week 1, 6-10. Hopefully, never have that again. Now, I will show you my spreadsheet today so you can see where everything's tracked. Here, I can just show you it again real quick. Let me get the spreadsheet open. So each week, I track all of these. Keep records. Here's where I'm tracking at 78% down here in the bottom right. And this was my prediction in the preseason where I wrote everything down, what the Lions were going to score in each game, and where I had the Lions winning. Actually, I had the Lions dropping the Arizona game. Looks like I got to update that. So here we are, week 4. Let's get into it. We're going to start with Carolina and Cincy. Now, some of this information is going to be quite similar to what we do on the Rise and Grind morning show, but that's okay. This is actually a little different information. So Cincinnati and Carolina, and then the numbers change the entire weekend. So tomorrow I'll actually update everything on Twitter as, some of the game day injury reports come out. If there's any major changes, I'll do some flip-flops. So we'll see if I have any flip-flops today based on what happened last night with the reports. All right. Carolina, Cincy. This game is terrible, right? It's a terrible game to try to pick because you just don't know what's going to happen. Is Joe Burrow going to show up? Is Andy Dalton going to be that dude again? Right now it is Cincinnati Bengals with the they're projected to win, but right now they're -1. They're -4.5. The total over/under is 47. So Cincy's projected to win, right? They're the favorite. They are on the road in Carolina, so that presents its own issues. Now, obviously, Carolina is under some major hurricane issues right now, and I just want to say my heart goes out to everybody, especially my family. Right now, we don't know where my sister is. And I got that information at 1:30 this morning. So all the mudslides and landslides and 18 inches of rain that fell in their area, We don't know where my sister is right now. So hopefully, because cell towers are down, we'll find out later today. But my heart goes out to everybody out there dealing with all this right now. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. It's a lot of rain. So Cincinnati and Carolina here. The Bengals are the favorite, but I don't know if they're really the favorite for me. I mean, I think Andy Dalton had a pretty good opening week. They're at home. Joe Burrow and that team, they have not done enough, so far this season to show that, that they're going to have a bounce back season at all. The outlook for Carolina Panthers season really changed when Andy Dalton started taking snaps as the quarterback, and Carolina's got a revamped, offense now with him leading the charge. So I kind of give an edge there right now. I mean, I'm not going to say that Joe Burrow's not that guy. I mean, he can be, but he just hasn't shown it, especially coming back from injury. This Carolina team, I mean, they got an injection of steroids, like as soon as Andy Dalton stepped in and started doing what he did last weekend, this team is pumped right now to support him. And I feel like that's going to carry over to this week. I don't think that there's going to be a hangover loss here for Carolina. Cincinnati's defense is really scrambling. They had a really embarrassing defeat on Monday against Washington, and the Bengals didn't force a punt the entire game. They didn't get a stop. They didn't generate a turnover against Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels kind of sliced and diced him away. And I think that, having a competent quarterback now for Carolina, that presents a new wrinkle for the Bengals. The offense really hasn't been the problem for Cincinnati through the first couple of weeks, but the return of wide receiver T. Higgins from injury during week 3, quarterback Joe Burrow kind of now has a full field of options. I think that it's going to keep the game a little bit closer than expected. Jamar Chase obviously immediately benefited from having Higgins in last week. He had 118 yards on the day, 2 touchdowns against Washington. But this is a Washington defense that is just terrible, right? Absolutely terrible. So I'm still going to roll. I'm still rolling Carolina in this game. And I'm going to stick with the same score. 24-17. I feel like Carolina is going to somehow run away with this at a full touchdown length. We'll see what happens tomorrow if I flip-flop on any of this, but at least we do it before the games get out. Next up, let's talk about Atlanta and New Orleans. So, yeah, get the notes up here. Just got to bear with me between teams. I got to find everything. I didn't feel like writing everything today. So the NFC South delivers an intriguing early season division rivalry game. We got a couple division rivalry games here in week 4. I love it. I wish that they would just do like week 4, like everybody, kind of has like a division game if they could make it happen. I think it'd be kind of cool. Do it every quarter, But anyway, the New Orleans Saints traveled to Atlanta this weekend. Battle tested Atlanta. Kirk Cousins is starting to look a little bit better. Atlanta opened the season facing 3 2023 postseason teams in a row. Kind of like the Lions, right? The Falcons aim to really slow down a hot Saints offense right now, and that finally stalled them in last week's game against Philly. So with the home field advantage, Atlanta is considered a slight favorite right now. And again, according to DraftKings, here, Atlanta, well, they're just getting home field. They're getting 3 points. So the Saints are getting 3 points on the road. The Falcons are the home team favorite. They're not getting anything more than that. But just as things really aligned for Atlanta's offense last week, injuries have really hit their offensive line. Their center, Drew Dahlman, is out with an ankle. He was put on IR this week. Right tackle, Caleb McGarry, knee, also listed as questionable for this week's game. And then Kirk Cousins, even with those injuries, he still delivered a solid performance, 230 yards in the TD. Very solid week for him. Now, Bijan Robinson, 16 carries, 31 yards. I mean, you can't have that. And you can't have that against the Saints. The Saints are going to try to get up early. I feel like they're going to try to go downfield often against this backfield. And I guess we'll see where that goes. New Orleans, I mean, they put up 40-point blowouts, right, to kind of start the season, and everyone was kind of shocked, like, where did they just come from? But I think it's fairly legit to say that, they have some weapons on this offense. I mean, Alvin Kamara is playing like old Alvin Kamara. And I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a tight game. Let's see who I picked yesterday. So yesterday I rolled with New Orleans on the road, beating Atlanta 23-18. Now, if we were to look at who's picking what here, right? Like who's going to go ahead and roll with the Saints or with Atlanta in this game? I just had it pulled up. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Expert picks, our quote unquote expert picks. You've got Nick Kosmiter taking Atlanta, Joshua Turner and Josh Kendall all taking Atlanta. Larry Holder, Zach Johnson, Deshaun Reed, Austin Mock, Michael, Sean, Duggar, all taking New Orleans. Now, nobody's really throwing out a bunch of, scores here. And not that scores really matter. To me, these are pick'ems for a reason. We're just picking winners and losers. I'm not really picking against the spread. I guess that's up to, for you guys to kind of figure out how you want to play the spread. So my scores are really irrelevant, but use the information, for what you will. Obviously, bet at your own risk. This is not a betting site. It's not a professional betting site. We're just having some fun and just kind of tracking it throughout the year. So I'm still going to roll with the Saints. I think that they've got too high powered of an offense right now, and their defense, their defense isn't that bad. It really isn't. Now the Saints, they are down 2 starters with McCoy out with a groin and their right tackle Ryan Ramczyk on IR. And that's really it. But losing their Pro Bowl center Eric McCoy, last week, that had a very, very, very sizable impact on this game. It'd be interesting to see where it goes. I expect New Orleans to run the ball quite a bit in this game. I do. I expect the Falcons to try to run the ball. Be that as it may, though, I do expect Shaheed to get moving in this game. I'm still going to roll it. I'm going to keep the same pick I had yesterday. New Orleans 23, Atlanta 18. Houston and Jacksonville's up next. What are they saying about Houston and Jacksonville? Let's see. So what's everybody up to today? What are you guys watching for college football? I haven't even paid attention. I couldn't even tell you when Michigan or Michigan State play. That's sad, right? I've had zero time. Nine Drinks says he's stocked up on canned food and dry food and water for a year. Yeah, you might need it. It is an election season. I'm not going to go political, but God knows what we're going to need. This country is it's different, man. Kind of miss being a kid. No worries in the world. You never really understood what your parents are going through when you were younger. And now it's like you got so much respect for what parents went through, especially if you're a parent. It's crazy. It is crazy. Here we go. I think I got the information. Houston, Jacksonville. Houston Texans are touchdown favorites against Jacksonville. And according to DraftKings, it is now plus 6.5 to the Jaguars. Over-under is 45.5. It's a sizable spread, right? Jacksonville is on the road into Houston. You're going to give the home team at least 3 anyway. And, Jacksonville just hasn't done a damn thing all season, really. So Jacksonville they're kind of going in reverse right now under Doug Peterson from where they were a year ago. Following a pair of 9-8 seasons and a playoff appearance, the Jags have been ineffective on offense this season. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, I told you guys, they paid him way too much. The guy was not worth what he just got paid. I would have let him ride it out or sit the pine, you know. They rank 30th in points and 27th in yards right now. That is not going to be effective enough against the Houston Texans defense. Player health will also impact the scoring abilities and possibilities for this game. Wide receiver Tank Dell for the Houston Texans torched the Jags for 145 yards and a touchdown last season in their first meeting, but he is questionable. I have not seen the injury report. Matter of fact, here, let's do this. Let's pull up the injury status here. When we're looking at Houston, right now, Houston is gone. They've gone ahead and put down, according to Dan Campbell, put him down. Right, he's getting scathed for those words. Damian Pierce, Jimmy Ward, and Tank Dell are out for this weekend's game. They are expected to return October 6th. So that's big news for Houston. Now, Joe Mixon was present for practice on Friday, but it appears that being present doesn't mean he did a whole lot. So he's questionable, and the question is, what is he going to be able to do in this weekend's game? So being down Joe Mixon and Tank Dell is pretty big for Houston. I mean, they've already got issues with Brevin Jordan on IR, Jeff Okudah. I mean, that's not really a big loss. But Fatu Kasi, their defensive tackle, being questionable as well. Houston has plenty of question marks right now. And for Jacksonville, I don't think it really gets much better for them. Let me pull it up here. What's up, Mike P? What's up, Brent Lighton, Craig Hogg, Trace, Cake Man, 9 Drinks. Got everybody in the house today. Good morning, everybody. At least it's morning for another 40 minutes or so. So for the Jags, Devin Lloyd, their linebacker, is questionable, so he's kind of making the cut for the weekend. He was limited in Friday's practice. When you're limited, you typically play. Jerry and Jones, Olakun, all limited in Friday's practice. Gabe Davis, who I just shut down off my fantasy league. He was questionable. Probably will play. Big one is Evan Ingram, tight end. He's out. Darnell Savage, their better safety. He's questionable. He's got a quad injury, though, so I expect that to be a tough injury to really play through. And then everything else was prior to 2 weeks ago, so there really is nothing much changed. But, the injuries are what they are. They're just going to have to play through it. The thing is, though, is Jacksonville's not as deep as Houston. Not even close. So, with that, let's close this one up. I rolled Houston in this one. Obviously, home team advantage. But, man, do they have some injuries here. I think that, I have Houston 24 over Jacksonville 17. I'm going to go ahead and change that a little bit. I'm going to bring this down to Houston. I'm going to go Houston 17 to Jacksonville's 16. I think it's going to be a much closer game. That puts the total over under at 33 for me. And I just think it's going to be a much tighter game than anticipated here. Now, the over-under, according to DraftKings, is 45.5. I don't know if a team is going to score more than 20 points on either side. I really don't. It's going to be tough sledding with all these injuries. And I think it's going to be a defensive matchup. There's more healthy defensive players for Houston than there is for Jacksonville, and I think that's going to give Jacksonville some trouble. So I'm still gonna stick with Houston, even though Tank Dell, is out. But But man, watch out for some changes in this one tomorrow. Jets and Denver. So the Jets are finally finding their footing a little bit. Aaron Rodgers is starting to play fairly well. Now, according to the experts, let's see what they say. I'm going to go ahead and just say that they probably, because I haven't looked, they've probably taken the Jets. Let's just see. Oh, yeah. Every single one of them took the Jets in this game. I'm not surprised. Let's see what they said. So, Bo Nix and the Broncos finally reached the win column in Week 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but if they have momentum, odds makers are not seeing it. Denver opened as a touchdown underdog against the Jets this week, and their improbable road upset against the Bucs did nothing to move the line. Now, betting on the Jets to cover that big of a spread would normally be throwing money away, but Nix has yet to show consistency in the passing game, and the Denver running attack is just non-existent right now. Lead back Javonte Williams has 52 yards through 3 games. That is not good. A total that third stringer Tyler Batty eclipsed in their last contest last week against the Bucs. Now, Nix is currently leading the team on the ground with 107 yards. You know, I kind of forgot about Nix's legs. The dude can run. Currently, the Jets are vulnerable against the run, according to this report. Denver doesn't have the weapons, though, to exploit that weakness. I would agree. I would definitely agree. And let's take a look at DraftKings here. What are they talking about? They are saying that they're saying that the Jets are going to win by 8. It is an over-under of 39, so a low-scoring game. But they're gonna spot the Denver Broncos 8 points. Man, if I was a betting man, I'm not saying to do this, I would take the points in this one. I think that the Broncos can cover this game, even though I didn't say that yesterday, because yesterday I had the Jets winning 31-17, which means the Denver Broncos would not cover. I'm going to go ahead and change my score now. I'm going to go Jets 25, and I'm going to go ahead and slot Denver in at 17, which has them covering exactly at 8 points. So Jets 25, Denver 17, Jets. They're going to run away with this one, I think. I really don't think it's going to be that close, meaning it's not going to look that close. New York has been the better team in coverage. Even though their stats may not suggest it, they've only allowed one pass catcher to reach or break 70 yards this season. So they've done pretty well in the passing game. They've only allowed just one touchdown through the air. So don't expect, Nix to get have a ton of success against this defense. Now, we've been surprised before, right? I mean, we've seen players that they're stacked up against it. They're going up against a team that is just, too strong on paper. And the eye test, it passes, and then they just have a day. It happens. These are professional athletes. They tend to have more good days than bad. Again, according to this report, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets passing attack are just starting to get going, and they are getting more dangerous by the week. Rodgers has had time to throw, which has increased every week as well, beginning at 2.3 seconds against the Niners and now rising to 2.6 seconds against the Patriots. If there's a universal truth in the NFL, it's that you don't give great passers time to throw. You've got to get up on them. You've got to close down their windows and shut down their passing lanes. And with the Broncos having a couple of good cover safeties and Brandon Jones and PJ Locke, they've got to develop a pass rush here that's going to be able to rattle Rodgers. And I don't know if that's going to happen. The Jets do have, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen to be able to counter that attack and start running the ball if need be. And with Nathaniel Hackett calling plays for the Jets, there is potential for some wrinkles in this game that are just going to be too much for the Broncos to overcome. I've got the Jets winning this 25-17. You guys agree or disagree? Let's see here. Next up, well, former Rodgers team Green Bay against Minnesota. Now, this, in my opinion, this is the game of the week if you're not at the Lions game. This is going to be, I think, a true test for both teams. And it's really going to give us an idea as Lions fans, if you're a Lions fan and you're in here watching this, just who these teams are. Because anytime you go up against your division rivals, you tend to play better. And it doesn't matter really what the injuries are. It seems like the games are always hard-fought games. And I think that we're going to have nothing different than that in this game. And I'm really interested to see, how is Sam Darnold going to do against this Packers defense? The biggest question is Jordan Love. And like I said on Friday and Thursday, the news that was coming out of Green Bay that Jordan Love was going to potentially start this weekend, I'm telling you, they're just pumping the fog machine here. That's all it is. I think it's fog machine fodder. That's it. They're just pumping smoke, right? And I think that they're gonna roll with Willis, but they're gonna make Minnesota believe that Jordan Love is coming into this game trying to set up, the Minnesota Vikings to prepare a little bit differently. And even if he does come in, even if Jordan does play, this is going to be his first game back on a knee that he's probably going to be a little apprehensive about. And I don't feel like it's going to be I don't think like anything's going to be in his favor, against the Minnesota Vikings that are probably going to take advantage, of a hobbled Love and get after him. If you start sending linebacker blitzes and DB blitzes on Love, you're just going to rattle his cage. And we know what happens when Jordan Love is rattled. Chalmers, I don't know. But like I said, I heard that, Graham was going to start on center or at center on Wednesday. And that information has stayed true. I'm not sure who they're putting at left guard right now. I honestly, I didn't even ask, and I haven't finished watching anything today, but I do believe they said yesterday, I think Ben Johnson and Jared Goff, they did have their media availability and they did recognize that Graham Glasgow is going to be taking snaps at center. So there was a short press conference today, Trace. I must have missed it. I've had other things going on today. So Vikings at Green Bay. It's going to be a great game. Great game. Right now we have the Vikes as a +3 underdog. +3 underdog. On the road, I expect it. Okay? You're going to give the home team 3 points. They're not giving the Vikings any credit for what they've done so far this season. Right now, this is 50% picked towards either team. It is a straight split. So this is a true pick'em. It does not get any better than this as far as pick'ems. You've got to be really good and diligent in your notes to be able to come out on top in these games. This is what can separate people in their picks this week. And I need an edge right now because, I'm behind 4 games. And I'm behind 1 game on Jeremy Fowler. So I've got to put it together here. Here's the report. It says we can't be sure which team will win the NFC North battle. That's because it's not either of them, right? It's not. I'm cutting it. Like it's not either of them. It's the Detroit Lions. But the result may hint at what's to come in their next meeting. That's because the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings have split their season series every year since 2020. That's interesting news. For this edition of the rivalry, though, the odds makers have listed the Packers as favorites to win at Lambeau Field. No surprise. And apparently the post-Kirk Cousins era is going to be just fine in Minnesota. I try to tell everybody that back in April and May, and then, especially when Darnold was brought in, I reinvigorated the skull train here that they were going to be just fine. Now the Vikings are undefeated with Sam Darnold leading the huddle. Dude's, he's playing out of his mind right now. With 8 passing scores through 3 games, It appears that Darnold could be having a breakout season at age 27 after a career that started in 2018 as the number 3 overall pick. I had no idea that Sam Darnold was only 27. I've never looked at his age. Like, he's still really young. Like, he could honestly be their starting quarterback for the next 4 or 5 seasons. If he continues to have a crazy good year this year, Sam Darnold might get a bag. Like, he might get a big bag from somebody if he continues to play the way that he's playing right now. Now, as much as the play of, wow, they call him the redheaded QB in this report. Really? That's kind of poor choice of words, but whatever. Anyway, it's been welcomed. That obviously Sam Darnold has been playing well. They could have just said that. It doesn't hurt the Minnesota defense has surrendered only 3 touchdowns. That was my biggest fear this year, was that the Vikings were going to be that good on defense. And they've only let up 1 on the ground. So if you think it's not going to be a tough test for the Lions, it's going to be a tough test for the Lions. It's going to be a tough test for the Packers. Now, both of the defenses, Packers and Vikings, have been good at creating turnovers, which could make this game feature plenty of flips. Plenty of, where was that? Where was I reading that? Plenty of flips and twists. The Packers lead the NFL with 9 takeaways, while the Vikings have forced 6 turnovers and rank 3rd in the NFL. Now, they're saying that Jordan Love could return. I'm not buying it. But then again, Malik Willis, I mean, he's been kind of getting the job done for him. I was actually really surprised with his play. I don't think that you could ask for a better job from a guy that just joined your team like 10 days before he had to start. And it wasn't even that. I think it was less than a week before, he joined the team and he had to go in and, well, it was only 1 play or whatever, but he had to finish the game for Jordan Love. And then he had to go the next week and start, which that's not a whole lot of time, to learn a LaFleur, style of offense here. So he hasn't thrown the ball a ton, but he's been a game manager, just about as good of a game manager as it could be. Yes, woo, yeah, woo for the Tigers. Yeah, woohoo. Man, I can't believe that they're back. I can't believe it. I can't believe that they made the postseason last night. Just crazy. But you know what? That's what good teams do. Well-coached teams, do. And I think if you look at the pairings between the Lions and the Tigers right now, it's all coaching. It's just the coaching is what changed this team. They've got some good players over there, but you tell me that those players are different than where they started the year. They're not. They're the same player. It's just the coach is now getting everything out of them. That's what Dan Campbell's doing. He's getting everything out of these players. So it's going to be a fun postseason for once for the Detroit Tigers. It's been a minute. So anyway, as much as I would like to say that the Packers are going to win this game at home, yesterday I said that Green Bay was going to win 17-10. And we kind of need Minnesota to drop a game right now. We kind of need them to. And it's really a coin flip. If we're looking at overall record, then yeah, we need them to drop a game. Right now in the NFC North, the Vikings are on top 3-0, and the Lions and the Packers are knotted up at 2-1, and then the Bears are 1-2. So if the Vikings drop one and go to 3-1, that makes the Packers 3-1. That puts the Packers on top until the Lions beat the Seahawks. And then I still think the Packers are going to be on top only because they've beat an NFC North opponent. But that would keep the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers all knotted up. And if you remember my early season prediction, as I said that the Lions and the Packers, or, that the NFC North was going to be kind of tight until about week 12. And then I think it's going to kind of take off for the Lions at that point. And I think that the Packers is what I said were going to start to fall off. And I thought that the Lions would be able to lock this thing up by like week 15 at the earliest. So we'll see where it goes, but I still think it's going to be a tight race until at least week 12, and then the separation is going to begin. If it happens before that, I would be extremely surprised. But right now, I'd rather see these teams all knotted up at 3-1 and the Packers win one at home than not. I'm not just picking it that way because that's what I want to see happen. But I do believe that it is very difficult to play in Lambeau for any quarterback. It's very difficult. I mean, Jared Goff has done a good job in Lambeau, but it is very difficult to win there. I don't care, who's that quarterback in this game. There's other options for the Packers, and with the defense on both sides, I think it's going to be a big defensive match here, and that might help Minnesota a little bit more because Darnold's got more weapons at his disposal right now. Especially over Malik Willis. So I'm still going to roll Green Bay. I don't know why, but I'm still going to roll Green Bay 17-10. We'll see if I change my mind tomorrow. Indianapolis at Pittsburgh. That's such a tough game to call. And I probably shouldn't have them separated by 17 or 7 points either. Pittsburgh at Indianapolis here is the Colts are a 2-point underdog at home, which is interesting. Matter of fact, let me back up a second. Let me go back and look at the Green Bay Packers injury reports. Jordan Morgan is out as of yesterday. Jair Alexander's questionable. So the fact that he's coming back, that's going to be a good matchup, for Jefferson. Carrington Valentine is doubtful. So one of their better cornerbacks is going to be out. That also will help Jefferson. And Addison, I think, is supposed to be back as well. Let me look at real quick. Let's see here. Minnesota. So he's not even listed on the report. It's kind of interesting here that Addison's not even listed. So Addison is going to be returning this week. So for the Vikings, clearly you still have Hawkinson out. He's not due back until next week. Ivan Pace Jr. is a big one. He's their best linebacker, in my opinion. Their best guard, Dalton Risner, he's out. He's on IR, and nothing else has really changed. So Minnesota's fairly healthy going into this game. The biggest player that that they lost this week was Ivan Pace, but he'll be returning, and then Dalton Risner, who's on IR. So they can manage a guard, and they can manage one linebacker. I don't think that's that big of a deal. But the fact that they have Addison and Jefferson coming back, that just gives Dalton another weapon. The Packers are definitely going to need Alexander, but how difficult is it to play, coming back from some of these injuries, and play well, especially when you're going to be down Carrington Valentine. Yeah. Other than that, Jordan Morgan is the big one for the Packers. Losing a really good offensive tackle it's not good. Not good for this game. But anyway, back to back to Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a 2-point underdog at home. Since we're in the injury report, let's talk about it. Braden Smith, Tyquan Lewis are both questionable as of yesterday. But Kwity Paye and Kenny Moore, as of yesterday, are both out. Ryan Kelly, their center, and Chris Lamons, their cornerback, are listed as questionable. No other major injuries since the previous game. So the Colts are fairly healthy. There's nothing that's like overly concerning here. I mean, it's going to, it still sucks not having everybody, at your disposal, but tell me a team that does right now. I've never seen injuries like this before. It's craziness this year. By the way, there's a gentleman by the name of Riley O'Brien that reached out. He's going to be doing an interview of Rock Down Detroit Lions this week, Wednesday. I think it's going to be recorded and then put out. So as soon as I get the information of where this thing is going to be put out, I'll let you guys know. But they wanted to do an interview of the channel for some reason. And I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be kind of fun to have a conversation with someone that's asking me questions for once. All right. So as far as the Steelers injury report, let's see what we got here. Yeah, they've got quite the report here. So Isaac Sumalo, their guard, is doubtful. Russell Wilson, nobody cares about. He's questionable. Jalen Warren, the running back, is out. Corey Trice Jr., their newer corner, he's out. He's on IR now. Michael Pruitt, their tight end, he's out. Alex Highsmith, really good linebacker, he's out. And then after last week's game, Troy Fontenot, he's out. He had a dislocated kneecap, so he's on IR. And I wonder if that happened during the game. It might have happened during the game. I think is the case here. Maybe. But all right, here we go. What am I thinking for this game, and what is the Athletic thinking for this game? I'm gonna go to their stats here for just a moment. Shout out to Trace, gifted another 5 memberships to some new members this morning that are watching our fantasy football version of the channel where we talk about weekly pick'ems. Shout out to you, Trace. Appreciate it, as always. You know, it's kind of fun when you get some people in. When we're on a very limited show, we don't have a ton of viewers. Like, we normally have a lot more viewers, but nobody really cares probably about weekly pick'ems right now because it's not Sunday. But Justin Ballman, welcome in. Cruz Hale, Jason Pulsifer, and Nick H. And what is that? Fresh Fade, the Master Barber. Love it. Absolutely love it. Welcome into the channel. All right, so let me find Pittsburgh here. That's what I was looking for. So just about everybody's taken Pittsburgh in this game besides 2. So just Zach Jackson and Josiah Turner, they've selected Indianapolis. What I should be looking at is, you know, where's their win-loss records, you know, for how they're picking teams this year. Maybe next week I'll put a little bit more time into this and we'll break it down a little bit more. Over-under is 40, so expecting a fairly low-scoring game. Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin has not yet made Justin Fields the team's official starting quarterback, but I think that we're pretty confident here that that's it. I mean, why else would Russell Wilson come in to start at this point? If they would be smart enough just to trade the guy, you know, get something for him, because Miami could really use a quarterback right now, and I think that they would love to overpay for Russell Wilson. But hey, I'm not the GM. I don't make the calls. So anyway, he's still in line. Justin Fields is still in line to start a 4th consecutive game, which it's going to happen. The Steelers are on a 3-0 start right now. One of, I think, 5 teams in the NFL that are undefeated. The Colts are at 1-2. They're coming off their first win of the season. The Steelers in week 3 against the Los Angeles Chargers, pretty beat up Chargers. Seemed like a big development for Fields, as he had by far his best passing day of the season, leading 4 scoring drives, including 2 touchdown drives in another win. They played a terrible team. That's why I don't give the Pittsburgh Steelers a ton of stock right now. You just have to look at the teams that they're playing, you know, and what are these matchups? You know, what do they really mean, you know, at the end of the day? It could be a promising offensive matchup for the Steelers, given their desire to run the ball and the Colts' struggles in stopping the run at times, you know, throughout the early part of the season. But Pittsburgh is dealing with some injuries on the ground game, or in the ground game, as their starting left guard, Isaac Sumelo, is still working his way back from injury, while running backs Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are both dealing with injuries, and Harris is expected to play, but was seen with a sling on his arm earlier in the week. So he might have a broken chicken wing. This is also going to be a massive test for the Colts quarterback, Anthony Richardson, which, I mean, this dude, if he puts it together, he's going to be one of the most scary quarterbacks in the NFL. He's going to be going up against the Steelers defense that really has a relentless pursuit and pass rush, only allowing 8.6 points per game through the first 3 weeks. Richardson has been kind of that boom or bust player, especially for fantasy players. But while he's struggling with turnovers, he's also making some of the most jaw-dropping throws you have ever seen, which I think that we knew who this guy was with his arm. He can throw the ball, 70 yards with a flick of the wrist. Tomlin is only 32-40-3 against the spread as a road favorite. Not that matters to me in the way that I pick things. So yesterday, I had the Colts edging out the Steelers 20-16. I had the Colts edging out the Steelers at 20-16. And I think that I'm probably going to leave it there. Let me look at one more thing again. I just need to be sure on something. Colts, here we go. Braden Smith out. Taekwon, or questionable. Could he pay? Kenny Moore. All right. Steelers. Smello is doubtful, so he's not going to play. Russell Wilson, we don't care about. Jalen Warren is out. Kobe Trice is injured reserve. Pruitt is out. Highsmith is out. Fontenot is on injured reserve. Yeah, so this is a tough one, but I don't see where he was talking about, or where this article was talking about Najee Harris. I don't even see him listed anywhere. But as of 9 hours ago, the Pittsburgh Steelers site, they have Jalen Warren out, Highsmith out, Isaac Seumalo is doubtful. Oh, there's Najee Harris. There we go. So he was on rest this week. He's on NIR rest. He was a full participant. So they will have Najee Harris in. Von Jefferson was good. He's been a full participant all week. Roman Wilson is good, full participant all week. It's still going to be a tough matchup. I'm rolling the Colts still. I'm leaving it alone right now. We'll see if anything changes tomorrow, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with my pick, 20-16. I have not done any flip-flops yet. Next up, Chicago and the Rams. This one's pretty easy for me. Chicago has really struggled all season long. Mightily struggled. And I don't think that you can doubt the Rams. I mean, if you want to give them a grit factor, right? It's incredible. It's off the charts. What Matthew Stafford has been able to do with half of an offense has been insane. And I think that we know this about the guy, right? I mean, he does a lot with less. He did it as a Detroit Lion. He did as much as he could, with a very limited roster. You usually had one or two guys, on his team that were fairly good outside of one or two offensive linemen. And that was it. I mean, it's not like he had a plethora of really solid depth and contributors. And he did play well. And on the defensive side of the ball, they just didn't help him a whole lot. But what we've seen with him at the Rams so far has been no different than what he did with the Lions. He's just doing it at a better clip because he's got better depth right now. And I think that he's learned a lot as he's aged as a quarterback. A really good quarterback, when they age in the NFL, it is truly like the analogy, it's like a fine wine. They just age really well. Like Aaron Rodgers, he's kind of aged really well. I mean, he's aged a lot, right? I mean, he's pretty old to be playing football, but he sees things differently. He can diagnose defenses, faster and differently because They've seen it all. They've been through it all. And, you just kind of open and, you percolate it just a little bit every so often. And next thing you know, you've got the perfect blend of experience and talent, arm, your arm's still decent, but they just do things at a much higher clip than your younger quarterbacks do. Your younger quarterbacks just seem to be a little bit more dynamic, right? A little bit more fun to watch, a little bit more mobile, or a lot more mobile than some of these older guys. But I don't know. There's something about an elder statesman quarterback that can still play the game that I would pick over a young guy just about any day. Oh, who are you saying, Craig? Eberflus? Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna ruin that entire team. But I'd say that Ryan Poles is the one that's responsible right now. The Rams injury report as of yesterday. So Davis Allen, their tight end, is questionable. Puka Nacua still on IR. Cooper Kupp is out. Jonah Jackson on IR. And then the rest of them have been on IR since before September 18th. What a beat up team. But defensively, they are a very strong team right now. And I think that defensively, they are going to rip the Chicago Bears to shreds. I think that Caleb Williams is going to get absolutely, I can't say that word, in this game. It started with an M. It ended with an erd. I think he's gonna hurt big time. Might even throw a few picks in this game. When we look at the injury report for the old Bears, they, as of yesterday, they're Terrell Smith, which, I don't know if he's a big loss, but he's out. Zach Pickens, defensive tackle, that's a pretty big loss for them. He's been ruled out. Keenan Allen still battling this heel issue. He's questionable. He doesn't think that his heel will continue to be bothering him on Sunday, but you got to watch for those kind of things to kind of creep up during the game, right? And then it really limits their ability and availability throughout the game. We'll just keep a close eye on that. And then Stephen Carlson, tight end, suffered a serious collarbone injury. He's out. Kevin Byard, huge pickup for them this year. He is questionable with a back injury. Andrew Billings, another big part of their defense. He is questionable, defensive tackle. So they've got some injuries. And I think the biggest injury, 9 drinks. This is not a typical show day. We're kind of building this. Next year, it's going to be on its own channel. The whole fantasy football stuff and the pick'ems, it'll be on its own channel. I'm not too worried about it. At the end of the day, I think that Caleb Williams is the biggest injury. Like, the guy just can't get out of his own way. He's got to learn to slow down a little bit. I think he really thought that he had this world beat. He thought that he had the NFL beat walking into it as a freshman into the NFL, and you've got to take that different approach, man. I think he approached it wrong, and it's going to bite him. I've got the Los Angeles Rams doing everything that they can to pound the ball all day on Chicago. And look, Stafford's been in that stadium probably more than a dozen times, right? I think that he's going to play in Chicago just fine. So I'm going to give this one to the Rams. And that's where I was yesterday. I had it 24-13 yesterday. I think I'm going to dial that back to 21. I'm going to dial it back to 21. And I still think that we're looking at a couple of field goals, maybe, and only 2 touchdowns on the day on the ground. Maybe 1 through the air for Stafford, maybe. But I think a lot of this stuff's going to come by the ground. Tampa and Philly is up next. So as far as Tampa and Philly's projections here for DraftKings. Oh, before I forget. Sorry. Rewind. Over-under for Rams in Chicago was 40.5. So that has me on the under. And the Rams are a 3-point dog, which is crazy. How can you be a dog to the Bears right now? They're just getting home field advantage. Over under 40.5. So I'm on the under, and I definitely I think that the Rams are going to cover for sure. Philly and Tampa Bay. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are a 1.5 point favorite on the road to Tampa Bay. Over-under is a 42.5 right now, so it's kind of a low-scoring affair. I had this game pegged at the Philadelphia Eagles would win 17-9. I think that this is going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a tough game for both teams that are still battling some injuries. I just don't see where, it's going to be a blowout or anything like that. I think it's still going to be a tough game. Let me pull up the report here. So Philly and Tampa, the Philadelphia Eagles' disappointing 2023 season concluded with a blowout playoff loss on the road to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now they can try to get a small portion of revenge and maybe get their 24 season off to a better start on Sunday when they make their return to Raymond James Stadium as slim road favorites. Well, I think it's possible. Now, the Eagles have a couple of big concerns on offense, both injury-related and performance-related. When it comes to their former wide receiver, A.J. Brown, he has missed the past 2 games due to injury. And wide receiver Devonta Smith, obviously he's out with concussion and is beginning the week in the protocol. Their starting right tackle, Lane Johnson, his availability was unknown due to a concussion that he also suffered in week 3. And any of those potential absences would be a major concern for the Eagles. And when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles injury report, I don't think it got much better. So let me pull it up. You still have Devonta Smith out. You have A.J. Brown is questionable with a hamstring. I think that's more smokescreen. I don't think A.J. gets in this game. I could be wrong. But even if he gets in this game, I don't think that he's going to have a major impact. Britain Covey, he's on IR. So they're down 3 wide receivers right there. Their offensive tackle, Lane Johnson, he was ruled out for last weekend's game. When he came out for the injury, obviously with a concussion. He's still listed as questionable for this week. We'll see what happens there. All the other injuries on this team, they happened well before the end of August, so not much to worry about here as far as those injuries. But the Eagles injury report from the website says that A.J. Brown is questionable. Lane Johnson is questionable. Devonta Smith is out. Another one that was not listed on the other report was Mekhi Becton, Landon Dickerson, Darius Slay, Milton Williams, all full participants on Friday, and they will all be playing on Sunday. Now, the Bucs have a huge list of injuries. I mean, we're talking 20 guys. Graham Barton, KJ Britt, Jamel Dean, Yaya Diaby, Mike Evans, William Golston, Chris Godwin, Luke Goedeke, Logan Hall, Bucky Irvin, Cameron Johnson, Kalijah Cansey, Ko Keefe, Vita Vey, Antoine Wynn Jr., Tristan Wirfs, Greg Gaines, Jalen McMillan, and Levanta David. All have been on the injury report this week. The majority of them with limited participations throughout the week. Now, Kalijah Cansey is still out. Antoine Winfield is out. Jalen McMillan, their wide receiver, who's been playing pretty well, he's out. And Levanta David did not practice this last week, Friday, so he's more than likely going to be out. Everyone else should be playing, which is good news for them to have Yaya Diaby and Mike Evans and Golston and Godwin and Jamel Dean. I think that those are all, big times for them. But be that as it may, I think that Philly is just a little bit healthier right now. And I think that's going to be the factor of this game. I have Philadelphia winning in a low-scoring affair, 17-9. I'm going to stick with that. Not going to change it. Not going to change it. San Francisco and New England. According to DraftKings, this is a over-under of 40.5 points. They have got the New England Patriots as a 10.5 point underdog on the road to the San Francisco 49ers. No idea what you guys are talking about in there, but I'll move on. 10.5 point underdog to the Niners. I think that Eric picked the Patriots against the Niners, didn't he? I think he did. I would definitely be taking the Patriots with the points in this game. I don't think that's going to be that far off. I think that the Niners still have enough injuries to make it interesting. Kelsey, I will say this. I think that Kelsey finally gets off the schneid. I do think that Kelsey has a decent game. He really hasn't done a whole lot. I'm sorry, not Kelsey. That's the next game. Next game, sorry. As far as the 49ers, let me get into their injury report. All right, so we got Trent Williams is questionable. Curtis Robinson is out, linebacker. Jordan Elliott, defensive tackle, is questionable with a foot injury. Hufanga, their safety, questionable with the right ankle. And Christian McCaffrey is on IR. Which is a locked call by Jared Eisenlohr on Fantasy Football that said, do not pick up Christian McCaffrey. Sell this guy as immediately as you could if you had an opportunity to. And it was a correct call. Christian McCaffrey is just, he's aged a little bit. He's got too many injuries every year. He's probably on his way out of the league sooner rather than later. Deebo Samuel listed as questionable with a calf injury. Dre Greenlaw is out. Javon Hargrave is out. So the defense is reeling a little bit, right? D Winters is questionable with an ankle. And then the rest of the team, it was all prior to September 20th, but Ricky Pearsall, Ambry Thomas, Elijah Mitchell, Drake Jackson, all out or on IR. So it's not shaping up to be a great day for the 49ers. I still think that they have plenty of weapons and they have enough of an offensive line to utilize them. Their defense is probably the healthier of the two groups. Maybe. That's probably a coin flip. But when we look at the New England side of the ball here, how badly are they hurting? And it's not that good. So you got Vidarian Lowe, Michael Jordan, and Alex Austin all out. That's an offensive tackle, a guard, and a corner. And then you have Caden Wallace, their other offensive tackle, listed as questionable. And then two linebackers and a cornerback. Well, Anfernee Jennings and Jonathan Jones are questionable, but Juwan Bentley is now on injured reserve as of, I think, Wednesday is when that happened. And then Kendrick Bourne, wide receiver, is listed as out. And then on the 29th of September, Sidney Sal is supposed to be returning, which is interesting because they have him listed as questionable since the 23rd. They're expecting him to come back tomorrow, and he's a guard. And then prior to that, everybody was injured, prior to September 18th, which really didn't affect last week's game or this week's game. At the end of the day, I still think that the Niners win. They are the home team. It is tough to travel and play in San Fran. 10.5 dog. And yeah, I still think that, I still think that New England would probably cover in this game. I had San Fran winning 24-10. I'm going to go 24-13. And I have them just on the outside of covering in this. No, I guess it would be, yeah, I'd have them just on the outside of covering. Now we'll make them cover, even though I don't really care about points. 24-14. I just pick them straight up. That's just how I do it. But I'll give them a little respect here. I'm still picking San Francisco, so it doesn't matter. Arizona and Washington. So Arizona and Washington are a 3.5 point dog on the road to Arizona. Now this game is kind of juicy, right? 49 point over under. So marginally higher scoring game, 25, 26 points a team. This one is it's a hornet's nest of a pick, because if Jaden Daniels really wants to sit back and pick this team apart, I think he could. If Kyler Murray wants to run all over the place against this Washington defense and then pass downfield often, I think he could. I really think he could. Now, the experts, what they're thinking is this. Hold on here. As soon as I can get it pulled up. I don't know why theirs are not in order, but it's kind of ridiculous. Here we go. The experts all picked Arizona to win this game. And at the very beginning of yesterday's show, the second hour, I picked Washington to win this game 31-24. You know, picking the over on the points here. And my reasons were simply because I think that Washington is going to have a healthier roster going into tomorrow. And I do like what they've been able to do, you know, as far as the running game. I mean, it hasn't been, you know, crazy good, but Jaden Daniels is finally starting to come alive. And their injury report is actually really good. So you've got Jamison Crowder, who's out, really hasn't even done a whole lot this year. And then Cleveland Farrell, their defensive end, is out. And Austin Eckler, their running back, is out. Everyone else was way before September 7th. So Washington is really healthy going into this game. And I think that, you know, coming off of a statement victory, that Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders look to maintain their momentum against an Arizona Cardinal team that I clearly are beatable. Like they are beatable, but they are. I think that they can be exposed even further than what the Lions were exposing them. You know, I think that the Lions put the blueprint out there on how to hold down their running game, and I think that if the Washington Commanders do one thing smart, it's they're going to try to copy what the Lions did. This is also a homecoming of sorts for Jaden Daniels, who started his college career at Arizona State before transferring to LSU. So he does have some friends in the area, you know, be kind of ceremonious for him a little bit, I guess. The same could be said about Daniels' offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, who was the Cardinals head coach from 2019 to 2022. So he's got a little bit of a revenge factor going on here. Now, Daniels and Kingsbury are coming back to the desert with Washington at 2-1. They're enjoying its first winning streak since the start of the last season. And Daniels was near perfect in the Commanders' 38-33 victory in Cincinnati on Monday night. So Jaden Daniels was responsible for 3 touchdowns and set a rookie single game record for completion rate, 91.3. That's incredible. And he did it against Joe Burrow. I mean, he just stepped up and went mano a mano, like, I'm going to beat you. Now, Daniels has teamed up with Brian Robinson Jr., who's been a delight to kind of watch this season, and Austin Eckler, who's out right now, suffering a concussion on Monday night. But this has really given Washington a multifaceted, you know, running attack, which is going to be hampered in this game because Eckler is out. But that doesn't mean that Jaden Daniels can't utilize his legs and make some plays, just like Kyler Murray can make some plays. Now, Kyler Murray, is really off to his own. You know, he's kind of on a strong start for the Cardinals, even though they're down to 1-2 this season. He's thrown 5 touchdown passes and just 1 interception through the first 3 games, and is averaging more than 10 yards per carry when he takes off with the ball. After an extremely quiet debut with, you know, Marvin Harrison Jr., he has made his presence known. 3 touchdown catches in the last 2 games, and the rookie will be the focus of the Commanders' defense, obviously, in this matchup. I think that Harrison's getting better. I think that, you know, Kyler Murray presents a lot of issues with his legs, but I do believe that the Washington Commanders are going to pull this one out. I think that Jaden Daniels is finally starting to figure out a few things. I just like what Washington's doing right now, so I'm going to go ahead and still roll with Washington 31-24. Next up, Chargers and KC. Now we can talk about Kelsey. Kelsey, I do believe, is good to go for this game. Let's just double check. Something tells me that he's finally going to get off the schneid in this game. And I'm pretty positive he's, health-wise, he's doing fine. He's just been slow to, to get going this year. For whatever reason. I don't think anybody really expected it. But he is getting older. It's not like he's young. It almost seems like football has just kind of left him. He's got a huge deal for his podcast, right? He's dating a billionaire. He's got a little bit going on, outside of football. And I just think if it wasn't for winning the championship, I wonder if he would have even been back this year if they hadn't won. Now, the only players that are out, which is quite a few for the Chiefs, is Mike Dana, defensive end. That's a big one. Isaiah Pacheco is a big one, and he's now placed on IR, but he was also out of last week's game. Hollywood Brown, who's been out since September 14th, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's also been out since September 2nd. Those are big ones, right? But they were also not in last week, and a large portion of them were not in for the entire season. So you really can't base their team's energy right now on the injury report. The Chargers, on the other hand, they've got some issues because Herbert is battling this ankle injury that he looked extremely uncomfortable on last week. And if that thing is still bothering him, I expect Allen to get after this dude right away and put him down, according to Dan Campbell. He's going to put him down. Before Sean Slater, offensive tackle, he's out. So that doesn't help, Herbert. Junior Colson, linebacker, he's out. That doesn't help the defense. Joey Bosa, he's out. That doesn't help the defense. And then you have a rash of questionables. Wide receiver, cornerback, quarterback, cornerback, and cornerback, and an offensive tackle. Even Joe Alt is listed as questionable with a sprained MCL. But everybody, even Justin Herbert, is listed as questionable for Sunday's game. That was Darius Davis, Dean Leonard, Justin Herbert, Jasir Taylor, Christian Fulton, Joe Alt. So kind of a rough go for the Chargers right now, but that doesn't mean that they won't try to pound the rock, which is what Harbaugh loves to do. He loves to establish the running game as quickly as possible. Now, early control of the AFC West is on the line when the Kansas City Chiefs and the Chargers meet up. On Friday, I took KC over the Chargers 24-19. Yeah, Travis Swift. What do we got here? So anyway, Kansas City is 3-0. They're off to another undefeated start to start the season. But none of the victories have really come that easy. Patrick Mahomes has nearly as many touchdown passes as interceptions, which I'm not worried about. It seems like there's a few quarterbacks, including Jared Goff, that tend to start the season, off a little bit sluggish. And then they kind of, they pick it up. Also dealing with, issues with missing running backs due to injury. Travis Kelce, he's completely disappeared. He hasn't done anything. This is going to put, a lot of pressure on Carson Steele and Xavier Worthy to really contribute in this game. And then, of course, Rashee Rice. I mean, that dude is fun to watch. What's crazy is Rashee Rice was like a 4th or 5th round pick or something like that way before the draft. And I had him as someone I wanted the Lions to pick up. Had no idea that his character was that off. So now it makes sense as to why they didn't. But how exciting would it have been to have had a Rashee Rice and a Jameson Williams on this team? Mahomes has gone 8-2 against the Chargers in his career. This will be his 100th start. So I expect him to play with a little bit more vinegar, a little bit more pizzazz. He's going to be a little bit more amped up. He's beat all of the other, records from Tom Brady and everybody else at 100 games. So this is, I think this is a big one for Kansas City. I feel like Travis Kelce's going to step up in this game because it does mean so much to Patrick Mahomes, and he will score a touchdown or two. And the Kansas City Chiefs are going to beat the Chargers 24-19. I'm still going to keep that same score. Las Vegas Raiders at the Cleveland Browns. Since I've got to wrap this up, look, the Browns are hampered on defense. And, you know, Myles Garrett, he's battling some injuries. I still believe that, you know, even an 80% Garrett is better than the majority of other, you know, defensive ends in this league. The Browns are a 2.5-point favorite on the road right now, which it blows my mind, especially, you know, if you got an over-under of 36.5, very low-scoring affair. Deshaun Watson, this guy's got to be traded, sat down, something. He's just not a good quarterback. But the Raiders, you know, they're just not a good team. They haven't been a good team for a very long time. At some point, they're going to have to figure this team out. I don't know why it's so hard to figure out. You've got some really great players in certain areas of your team. And then, I don't know, they got all these holes, it just seems like. They never try to fix it. I'm trying to pull up the information here. The report on, status report on the Browns and the Raiders. Come on. All right, here we go. The odds are very tight for Sunday afternoons. I'm sorry, for Sunday's matchup between the Browns and the Vegas Raiders, with a margin that is closer to a toss-up. So either way, one of these teams will emerge at 2-2. Yeah, you think? And the other will fall into a hole with the road game facing them in week 5. So no quarterback has hit more than Cleveland's maligned Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson's taken a ton of hits this season, which means their offensive line is terrible, or they're just kind of opening the door and say, hey, take him. Take him. You know, take him out. I would too. He's been sacked 16 times, but that may be the least of his concerns. Last week, during a 21-15 loss to the Giants, Watson was seen on the sidelines following a stalled offensive series with a towel draped over his head. Far from his offensive coordinator, if Watson has lost the confidence of his coaches, this season could get ugly. And I think that's where it's headed. I think that you've got to panic if you're a Brown. I think that Watson's got to go. And that's why I'm giving the game to the Raiders. I think that they're just going to rise above in this game. I can't stand Deshaun Watson. I can't pick the games based on love and hate relationships. I got to pick it on what I see. And right now, I see that the Raiders are going to be able to do what they need to do to pull this game out at home. And they're going to win 23-17. Baltimore and Buffalo, this is my second game of the week. Like, I think that this is a huge game. And I really believe this is going to set the stage. Where did I have these teams at? Where did I have them? So it's crazy. I had both of these teams in second place in their division, and I had the Browns in first place in the North. And that was largely because of defense. It had nothing to do with Deshaun Watson. I just thought he would have to do enough to win. But I think for having both of them selected, you know, at number 2 in their division, I'm probably going to have to make some changes there. But I do believe this starts to set the stage for the AFC, you know, and who's going to rise to the top later at the end of the season. Any concern about Josh Allen's ability to thrive without Stephon Diggs can be erased from your memory banks. The dude is playing at an elite level this year, absolutely elite level. Right now, he's on a MVP race at the moment. Like he's the front runner through the first 4 weeks of the season, or 3 weeks of the season. completely dismantled Jacksonville Monday night. The Bills are 3-0. They are the road underdogs, which does not make any sense to me. But the Ravens, they just have not been able to really put it together. Home field advantage is doing a lot of work for the Baltimore Ravens. It always has. Lamar Jackson and company have yet to really demonstrate a cohesive passing attack or even an ability to finish games. So I'm expecting that this game could be a little bit different for Baltimore. It could be a better showing. You might actually see, King Henry start to do something. He hasn't done a whole lot either. And as far as injuries go, there's just not a ton going on for Baltimore. They lost a cornerback, Davis. Last season, Andrew Voorhees was selected. He's their guard. He's doubtful. Tyler Linderbaum, I believe he was selected last year? No. He's questionable. He's their center. And then Rasheen Ali, running back, IR, Deion Jennings, IR, linebacker, all those are prior to September 5th. So Baltimore's fairly healthy, and the Bills are really healthy. They're only missing a linebacker, an offensive tackle, a cornerback, Teron Johnson, and an offensive tackle, Travis Clayton. Really nothing big here. A lot of these players have been out since, August, and they've only lost a few players since the season started, which is really, really, really good. Or it could be really bad because, the way that this game ebbs and flows. But yeah, King Henry's been having some trouble, and I don't get it. I don't know if it's because you've got, a Lamar that can run the ball and it's just too confusing right now because it's almost like they're not selling out to one side or the other. They're not selling out completely to Henry or to Lamar. They're trying to mix the two, the read option almost. I've got Baltimore losing this game. I think Buffalo is just going to be too strong. I think that Josh Allen is legit on his way to try to win a Super Bowl this year. And it's going to be too bad when he meets up with the Lions later. But, man, Buffalo and the Lions, wouldn't that be impressive? Sorry about that. Wouldn't that be impressive? The Buffalo and the Lions in the Super Bowl? I think that would be a great Super Bowl. Two very, very good teams that have a lot of respect for each other. Buffalo wins this game 26-20. And I'm rolling. I'm going to keep it. Miami versus Tennessee. Look, Miami just doesn't have anybody. They're in trouble. They need a quarterback. Skylar Thompson's not the answer. Tim Boyle's not the answer. Their defense is okay. But Tennessee, even though they don't have anything anywhere right now, I think that they have enough to beat Miami, especially given the fact that they're on the road too. That's what's crazy. But anyway, especially given the fact that Miami doesn't have a quarterback, that can lead this team. There's only so much you can do with Tyreek Hill if your quarterback doesn't even know how to get him involved. So for that reason, I think the Tennessee wins 17 over Miami 13. And then the game of the week, obviously Monday night is, or the second Monday night game is Detroit and Seattle. Seattle on the road into Ford Field. Now, it is going to be a Motor City mashup. This is a very, big time game. The Lions need to get the ghost out of the closet, right? They've got to win this game any which way they can. They need to come in to be the aggressor in this game. And if they don't, they're going to get punched in the mouth. That's just the way it is. Look, you just like Cobra Kai says, you gotta punch first, man. You have to. In this game, you have to punch first. You can't wait to be punched and then counter. You've got to get up early in this game, and you got to do it any way possible. Offense, defense, special teams, they've all got to play well. But we have to be the aggressor. I mean, you listen to what, Dan had said yesterday, which, sorry about the audio. I didn't see where anyone told me in the chat that the audio was off. I didn't know until the very end, and I can't fix it. I might download it and then re-upload it as a video, but that's about all I can do. So you heard Dan yesterday. You didn't hear much from me, but you heard Dan yesterday, talking about this team playing the way that they are right now. I don't think a lot of people are surprised because it's McDonald's defense, that has really kind of been the glue for this team right now. And Geno Smith, I mean, he's just a pro's pro. He knows how to slice and dice you. He's really good at reading defenses. Really good. I like the energy of the Seattle Seahawks team. I don't think that they're going to have enough of it this season against the Detroit Lions. We have a lot to play for. We've got some big injuries with Frank Ragnow being out. I feel more confident that it's Graham Glasgow that's going to be in the game, under center versus anybody else. I do not want to see a rookie. I don't want to see a second-year player, trying to run this offensive system and be in Jared Goff's eyes and ears. That's not what I want to see. So it was Graham Glasgow from the jump, and now Graham is going to be in on Monday night. Defensively, obviously, we know the Lions lost some big-time players. Ali McNeil is supposed to play and be just fine. Terry and Arnold is supposed to be just fine. Everyone else on the back end of the defense is supposed to be just fine other than, Melifonwu. I think the Lions are fine, with what they've been able to create as far as shutting down the run. I think that's going to continue. I do not believe that the Seahawks are going to be able to do anything on the ground. Again, this is going to be a game where we keep teams under 70 yards rushing. And what I've meant by that is I don't think that there's going to be any running back that is going to get more than 70 yards on the ground in this game. It's not going to happen. And matter of fact, the Lions have now gone, I think, 22 games straight without allowing a 100-yard rushing game by any one player. That's crazy, right? That's a heck of a stat. There's two things that the Lions were always really bad at. One, we couldn't get a 100-yard rushing game on the ground. It was 5 years or something crazy, and then all of a sudden it happened. And then since Dan Campbell's been the coach, it's been happening more often because we've actually had some pretty good running backs. And the other thing was stopping opposing teams. They used to just run all over us. That doesn't happen anymore. So they've completely flipped it. We are now running as the aggressor, and we are getting the yards that we need to help our offense get into, the right schemes and the right play calls, to be able to press the gas and really press the nerves of the defense, the opposing defense, and get them rattled, right? That's fun to watch. And then the other thing is, slowing down the offense's run game, not allowing them to run, making them more one-dimensional. And even though Geno Smith has legs, I don't think he wants to use those legs, but he is sneaky fast. And like I always say, mobile quarterbacks or dual threat quarterbacks are always 1.5 dimensions, even if you've limited their run game from their running back. So it'd be interesting to see where it goes. Lions win 31-19. I don't think it's going to be close. I think the Lions are going to get up early. They're going to stay up. Ben Johnson's going to mix it up. I think he's going to call the right plays at the right time, and I do believe that Jameson Williams is going to get loose in this game. I think it's lining up for Jameson Williams to have a big one on the outside, and I think that if Sam Laporta's ready to rock and roll, he'll have a pretty decent game too. But we'll come out with more information on this on Sunday. So tomorrow, we've got the blackout mashup. Eazy-E is going to be joining us tomorrow. Chef is going to be joining us tomorrow. And I'm still waiting for some confirmation of some other creators on who's going to join Rock Down Detroit Lions tomorrow to do kind of a blackout mashup, talk about the Detroit Lions, and we're going to be a fun conversation. So we'll be starting right around 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's already listed. Do us a favor, please subscribe, turn your notifications on if you'd like to be notified of when these pop-ups go live. There's all kinds of things that you guys know we do. We give away helmets every 500 subscribers. We also support Rock Down Cancer Foundation. And, of course, it's something that's very near and dear to my heart, and appreciate all of your help with it so far. But there's a lot of raffles that are going on. So you're going to want to get notified when all these things are going on. But more importantly, Check out buymeacoffee.com/rockdon. You can see all the things in the shop that are up for raffle right now. But smash the like button, hit subscribe, get those notifications turned on so you know when we're live, when we're going live, and when videos pop. We do breaking news. We get you guys the real news, no clickbait. We're not going to stain your mentions with a bunch of garbage. We're going to make sure it's all vetted information if we do release it. And if it's not, we will let you know that it's opinion-based or speculation, and we're just having a conversation about it. So you guys have a wonderful day. Again, bet responsibly. This is not a betting site. This is all for fun. If you do decide to bet it, I hope you win. My locks of the week. I'm going to do a couple locks of the week here, which is scary because I think this week is a trap. I think this is a crazy one, but I'm going to call my one lock of the week the Rams over the Bears. I think that's a lock of the week. I'm going to call Houston over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going to call Kansas City over the Chargers. Those are my locks of the week. I am not going to lock the Lions because I'm not going to do that to myself. But I'm going to knock on wood. Y'all have a wonderful day. Looks like we've got noon kickoff we're a little bit late for. My apologies. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.